Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Cantina Conversations, the galaxy's #1 conversational podcast. I am one of your hosts, Will Beeman, joined as always by my two illustrious Canadian compadres, starting off with the ever so lovely, the big boss, DJ Gillard. DJ, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
That's good. I like it when you're doing well, you know?
Yeah, who knows how the mood will be in a couple days, because our forecast has 3 to 5 inches of snow this week.
Yeah. Ooh,
Yeah,
tasty.
I think ours might too have a little.
After
bit
we've
of
been
snow.
having like 80-degree and 60-degree days for the last 3 weeks, they're gonna throw a wrench into the pipeline.
Could use some of that global warming, eh?
Yeah, we sure could. And joining us fresh from 1983 is the ever so studious Mr. Academia himself, Jackson W. Wells. Jackson, how are you today?
Ghostbusters. I don't know, something like that. I'm doing okay. I'm in the middle of my 3-day finals binge, and then just so much more time for content after that. I guess I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself.
You'll be able to catch up on movies.
Yeah. Oh, I need to watch the movies. By the time you're listening to this, I'm probably writing my last final. So, wish me luck. Be nice to me. I don't know. Say nice things.
Yeah, everyone tweet at Jackson W. Wells. Good job, Jackson. Give him a small round of applause. He completed the school year. His second pandemic school year completed.
Ah! It's okay. No, it's not.
Only a couple more to go. From what I've been reading, Canada's been ablaze lately. So
it's been a great time here, actually.
Yeah,
let's talk about it.
It's a little bit of hubris, in my opinion.
Okay.
Not on me. I completely am understandable, but from certain governmental things, we're like, oh, we're not that bad. It's like, well,
everyone just look at the States and ignore what's happening everywhere else in the world. Everywhere else is doing great in comparison. And then the tables kind of turned, you know?
Yeah.
DJ is also not only the big boss, but he is our frontline hero, so he can give us the real scoop from the lines.
It's
the
true, DJ.
Scoop?
There was a mad dash this weekend, wasn't there?
Yeah, a little bit, but not too bad.
For like the bread and toilet paper and all that.
It was fine.
DJ's trying to incite a
there was
online.
like I was noticing people were like, hey, some people are going back to last March shopping, and I'm just like, guys, like I know you're coming back here in a week when you're like, I don't have the right pasta sauce, like I need to come back. Like, you're not doing anything by buying 2 things of toilet paper. Just calm yourself down.
Were a lot of people buying bologna?
No one was buying bologna. So
wow.
Sorry.
Man, I guess there'll be plenty for you to have when the lockdown
exactly
hit,
I can pick it all up.
I mean, hopefully you guys just pick up your vaccinations output here soon.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Jackson's not very optimistic. But speaking of implants of microchips that you can find in the COVID vaccines, that ties in well with the current arc of the Clone Wars that we're going to be discussing this week. Yeah, because there's really no news. The Star Wars world has been very quiet outside of a very cool Bad Batch poster that came out this week.
Republic Commando came out, and I don't think anyone said anything about it.
Yeah, it came out, and people were like, "Hey, this game's out now," and then it just kind of died. I mean, we'll talk about it.
We're still going to play it,
because we're going to play it when Jackson's home from school.
Yeah, we'll talk about it during the Bad Batch season somewhere in there. We'll sneak her in.
I heard it was bad. The not the game itself, but the
port's only bad on Switch apparently.
Okay,
well, that would make sense because it's just got weaker hardware. Like, not.
Well, it's probably got better than original Xbox hardware, so there's probably something else going on there.
There's some weird stuff where apparently because the Xbox is like tech for like backwards compatibility, the Xbox version like that existed already, that you can buy on the store that I played on last year is actually like kind of running better than the PS4 version too, which is like weird that you didn't go through the effort to make it really nice for the new remaster, but it's fine. We got to play it all together, so we got to buy it again.
I'm still very excited to play it, to be honest.
So. Yeah. It's also one of the things where it's like, this is a Xbox game.
Yeah.
And if they're not going to do the full thing, there's only so much.
Plus, I think the last time the boys had ourselves a gaming night was the week before Jackson went back to school. So it's been quite a minute. Very, very, very excited to look forward to a nice gaming night. But without further ado, let's just dive into the story arc that we have here. I don't know if this arc has like a overarching name to it or not. Jackson, you can take the lead and let me know if there is.
Yeah.
You have the reins, my friend.
I've seen like Clone Conspiracy used, but there's all those are kind of
That's
weird.
not a bad
Yeah.
name for it.
Yeah.
Either.
I was gonna call it the Fives arc.
This is about our boy.
Okay.
This is so this what we'll be discussing this week is season 6, episodes 1, 2, 3, and 4.
We should
Season
address our programming note that we
Yeah.
changed everything.
We decided that well, not that it wasn't good enough, that it was just incorrect. We were gonna watch
I made a mistake.
DJ. It's okay. So yeah, we skipped forward to our next kind of arc, and then we'll probably be adding the Siege of Mandalore arc in at the end, just because
Yeah.
it makes sense.
I rewatched the episode for that arc with the clone in it, and I was like, there was one episode with a clone, and it's basically just the deserter again, but like with a different
Yeah.
spin. And I'm just like, we don't need to do this, actually. We don't need to watch all 4 of these droid episodes that we were going to do.
We will at some
One
point,
part.
though.
We
when
will
go
at some
back
point,
to our
absolutely.
do our Clone Wars arcs.
But for right now,
Mhm.
not essential.
But we do
Yes.
want to reiterate and remind everyone the droids arc is George Lucas's favorite arc in Clone Wars.
It
so
is. We
Yes,
really
it is.
disrespected our boy.
we've
when we
disrespected
did
the
this.
creator.
Well, you know what? This makes up for it because this arc was written by Katie Lucas, who I assume is the daughter of George Lucas.
It is. She just had a
Um,
birthday actually this past week.
Happy
Katie
birthday.
Lucas. She has written some other Clone Wars stuff.
I believe off the top of my head, without re-looking, I think she's written 14 episodes of the Clone Wars.
Oh,
I
wow.
think
Yeah,
she's
so a pretty good amount.
written quite a bit. I'm not going to count them, but yeah, she wrote
And she had involvement with Ventress being created.
Yeah,
Oh,
she
okay.
had some. She wrote the Night Sisters, a lot of the Night Sisters stuff,
That makes sense.
as well as Dark Disciple, which I believe is the
book?
What became a book?
She wrote the original,
Oh,
the
that
original
makes
like
sense.
teleplays for them, and then she wrote the forward for the book itself. So yeah, she's got a decent Clone Wars bibliography, I suppose. Not one of those things where it's like, George Lucas's daughter is now writing Star Wars.
See, she went the like actual creative route in the Star Wars franchise. His sons, all they did was just like agree for cameo roles.
Yeah. And it wasn't
Which
like
respect. Like,
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Do-
I mean,
do
yeah,
your
that'd
thing.
be cool too, but
Yeah.
And I believe we could agree those Night Sisters arcs are quite good, and
Yeah.
as well as I would say that this arc is quite good as well. So
I would agree. She's very talented.
Yeah, I'm
I
surprised
would almost
she
say
hasn't
she's a better
expanded much more.
writer than her father.
Oh, get some spicy takes in here.
You know what? That's we can't do that. But yeah. So season 6 of the Clone Wars is a weird one because the show had been like canceled at this point, but they had some episodes, and
I believe this was the Netflix season.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
but however, it released all the episodes released a month early on the German TV network Super RTL,
Of course.
and
Yeah,
then was
obviously.
released in the US and Canada on Netflix a month later, which is very weird. I don't know what to say here. It's
half
strange.
the season was canceled as well. Like,
Yeah, and
'cause
then
disjointed.
a lot of it you'll see, like the Bad Batch is a season 6 arc that
Mhm.
never happened, and that was
Yeah.
repurposed, as well as that Dark Disciple novel that we talked about,
Son of Dathomir, which we read a long time ago.
and the Boba Fett Cad Bane stuff.
Yeah. These are all the
Right.
quote unquote lost episodes
Yeah.
when Netflix.
I believe this season
brought them
is
out.
called The Lost Episodes too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my
Yeah.
Blu-ray of it says on it. They're the lost episode or the
Huh.
lost chapters, maybe. It's something like that.
Very strange because DJ and I were just talking just before we started. This arc especially seems like pretty integral to like what's
Mhm.
going on within
Yeah.
the Clone Wars.
It's like they get to season 6 and they're like, well, I guess we got to kind of connect this to the third movie again, don't we?
Mhm.
So,
And it does feel like that. It's strange. I feel like everyone feels a little bit older, and this, like, I think a lot of Clone Wars you can just kind of read as like random stories throughout the war, but like for something about this episode, this group of episodes kind of feels like later.
Is this the
Yeah.
towards
first?
the end.
Is this the first like big series like this that was canceled and saved by a streaming service?
The 2014, so it must have been.
It had to be.
Community, sort of.
Yeah,
I
They
can't
had their
remember.
thing.
I think it was
I don't remember if that was
after.
the same time or not.
I
It
guess
was
it'd be
around the same time, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. That Yahoo TV Plus or whatever. That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty close. But the thing about Community is that it was never like, okay, now it's over. It was always kind of like in this weird back and forth.
Yeah.
Whereas this was like we just finished our most successful and most like important arc, which is the finale of season 5, where Ahsoka like pieces out. Very strange. And even one thing I'll note before we actually get into it is like Yularen is like gray in the 1 second he's in this episode, whereas beginning of the series he was just like dark haired, which is an example of like it kind of moving forward. But anyways,
Yeah. Also, I noticed at the start of this episode when the clones are fighting, I'm like, oh, time has passed. Like these guys know what they're doing now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
they
It was
all
one of those
seem.
little- It's one of
They'll
those
have
little
like that war
things.
veteranness to them.
Yeah.
and it almost feels like there's like a passivity to it where they're just like kind of doing it.
they're going through the
and-
motions.
Yeah, which is kind of part of what's going on here. But yeah, so like I said, this whole episode or this whole series is written by Katie Lucas, and then there's various different directors. This episode is directed by Bosco Ng. And it was released, I'll just give the US and Canada date, on March 7th, 2014, and then followed for the following 4 weeks.
When I was 24.
Yeah, I would have been 9 years younger. So I was in high school when these episodes were coming out.
This episode
I do remember when this was happening.
This episode still predates DJ Star Wars fandom.
It does, but I do remember when this. I remember specifically when this was happening, and me and Jackson's friend Caleb was like talking to me about it and be like, "You should watch this stuff." And I was like, "I don't know anything about Star Wars." Like, I don't know.
It's weird to think too.
I do
Like I
remember.
feel like this is so distinctly like pre-Disney Star Wars. This movie or these episodes come out like a year before The Force Awakens.
Right.
They're like so close, and then I feel like there's a big gap between Clone Wars and Rebels, but there isn't.
Yeah, there's like a year.
Yeah,
It's so weird to think about.
man. Imagine a year between shows. Now that we're just sitting here waiting for a new animated show for years.
They've really been running consistently since 2008. This is
Mhm.
2003. Anyways, let's actually talk about this
let's talk about
this
the
arc. Similar to the Umbara stuff, this is one big story, so we're not gonna like go through the rigmarole. But essentially, Jedi's. I'll read the thing here because it'll set us up better than I will. Battle for Ringo Vinda. Republic forces are locked in a heated combat with the droid armada and a massive space station that encircles an entire planet. Anakin Skywalker valiantly leads his men against the onslaught, which lasted several rotations, with neither side gaining any ground. Aided by twin sister Jedi Masters Tipli and Tiplar, the Republic then mounted a desperate offensive to break the deadlock. I will say, you would think the whole attachments thing, they wouldn't put twin sisters on the same mission.
Nothing going wrong there. They can just totally be completely emotionless about it. Obviously.
Seems bad. But yeah, essentially we've got these two random twin Jedis, so you know that like something bad's gonna happen because we've never heard of them before. Anakin, and then you got the classics: Rex, Fives, Tup, the 501st. However, Tup has been a little wobbly in the head throughout this, and while they're kind of mounting their assault, it's weird. It's like inside a space station. This battle is happening, and I'm like, the control over like different areas of the space station seems strange. It just doesn't seem like something we've seen before. And while they're mounting the space station, Tup kind of goes a little funny in the head and goes up and just like point blank like rips. I'm gonna guess which one. Kills Tiplar, which I don't know. Doesn't matter. And he just says, "Good soldiers follow orders. Good soldiers follow orders," and he like repeats it and just shoots her like point blank right in the head. And it's like pretty grim.
It's
to watch.
It's more impactful than like the Order 66 montage in episode 3 for me, because I'm like, they actually take the time to do it and be like, this person's getting killed. like point blank, and the
A good
clones
metaphor.
dealing with it happening. Everyone's freaking out at once, like trying to figure out what's going on in the midst of a battle. It's really well done.
Yeah, I will say this is Clone Wars at its like best in terms of like referencing Revenge of the Sith, where like you know what this is immediately as someone who's like seen that movie.
Yeah.
But like you can't scream through the television screen and being like, "Hey, there's a plot against you." I feel like sometimes this show like scripts is like, "Ooh, this is kind of like in Revenge of the Sith," and it's like, okay, like we get it, like that's a bad movie, let's ignore it. Whereas this kind of takes it on head on in the best ways. But yeah, Tup, it gets checked out and there's nothing like physically wrong with him or even kind of like a base level brain scan. There's this cool little thing where he's like kind of like in just kind of like the side and like the sister who has attachments to her twin sister.
Cool. Couldn't believe it.
He kind of goes up there and he's just kind of being weird about it, and then he like doesn't remember like killing her, and then he sees her, he looks at Anakin and then looks at her and then kind of goes at her, and then she does some Force stuff, and Anakin's like, whoa, I know he killed your sister, but you can't kill him in revenge.
Yeah, they're way too calm about this whole thing.
Which
like,
is
no,
like,
I would get it.
Yeah, and Anakin does too, because he's literally done it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially they check him out and it's like, hey, what's going on with this guy? We don't know. And the creepy spider
I love this guy so much.
Separatist,
He's so cool.
Trench notices this and is like, hey, Dooku, looks like there's something weird going on with this clone who killed a Jedi. And Dooku, who is for some people known as Sifo-Dyas, or I can't remember the lore, but he knows. He's like, huh, we should make sure that the Jedi don't figure this out. And then Anakin and the crew, they send off Tup to Kamino where he can be tested. However, his spaceship is intercepted by separatist droids, and some pretty grim space combat happens where a lot of clones just die, and then they take Tup, and then Anakin, Rex, and Fives go to find him, and there's some really horrifying shots of like just dead clones. This show has never shied away from just really throwing some dead clones at you.
No, they never do. Both these sequences here are really cool because they're action sequences of things like we've never seen. All the other action sequences you think about in the show are like two forces running at each other with guns, just kind of on a nondescript planet. When this is getting really wild with like people fighting in space and like taking over a ship, like all that stuff. So it's really cool.
Yeah, and then
before we
yeah.
keep going, the spider separatist boss guy that's been in several episodes.
Trench,
yeah, Trench. He's just boss nass, right?
With the like spider legs.
They do the same. They talk the same exact way. They both have like that.
That's true.
That clicking noise that they do and everything.
Yeah.
He doesn't do the. But
No,
he does all the other talking the exact same. Have you never noticed that before?
I've never put that one together. You know.
Well, when you rewatch the best prequel, The Phantom Menace,
right?
Not often do I think of Boss Nass, even though I should more.
Underrated character.
I should.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They should. Is this guy still alive, or does he die? I guess we'll find out next week.
Yeah, we will find out next week.
I hope he's still alive because I love this guy so much.
We will find out next week.
Okay.
I'm glad you don't remember that because it's wild. Yeah, so Rex, Fives, and Anakin, they like do some more moonwalking around the separatist base, and they like see Tup getting put into another ship, and they're like, and Anakin's like, let's just go out there and just really just mess them up and kill them. And there's like hundreds of droids, and Rex is like, yeah, maybe you will survive that, but we won't. And I'm like, that sounds like the way Anakin thinks. Let's just go out there and do it.
Yeah.
Anakin also has non-Jedi issued scopes, which I guess is interesting. They call attention to it because he's different. But anyways, Fives, in his infinite cool ARC Trooper wisdom, gets them to do a cool space trick shot on this ship. And then there's some good droid humor here where they're like, we're experiencing drag. And then we're experiencing turbulence, and they get shot.
I love that humor. So I
it's
laugh
so,
way harder than I should. It's like dad humor, but I love
Yeah.
it so much.
The droids are good. And then this is pretty much the end of this episode. They get him back. This episode is very much a setup episode for the following three. And then they're like, okay, we'll send them back. And Fives is like, can I go with? And Rex says, yeah, okay.
But do it by the book.
Oh yeah, we'll do it by the book.
Yeah.
Fives.
Yeah, which
is
when
the
he
only
says
way.
that, you're like, is he gonna deny him? And he's like, by the book, I mean that you help
What's
your
the book?
brother. And I was like, oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
I wish that the films explored Jedi wearing space helmets more.
Yes, I agree.
Like that could lead some cool visuals, I think, like of them doing like a on top of a spaceship while they're docked, like parked in space somewhere or something.
But they don't need helmets because of that scene in episode 8 when Leia
I was about to say that.
propels herself across with no helmet, can survive because she's a Jedi.
I hate that scene.
I agree. It is a cool motif for sure.
Well, the only other thing I could think of is when they go and meet Boss Nass and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, and they have to use rebreathers. That's kind of a similar concept.
There's some stuff of that too in Rebels. I think the 0 Hour arc. It's like the end of season 3. I think there's like some space fighting. I want to say I can see the key art of the Disney Plus episode in my head right now, but I can't remember anything about the episode. But I never remember like he's got a helmet on. Like
we'll have to refresh your memory
Ezra.
when we watch some Rebels.
Yeah, I was
films.
actually going to suggest before we decided on the finale of season 7 that we watch a couple Rebels clone episodes because there's some good ones in there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of that one where they go to the Separatist base and there's like still droids around and Rex is like freaking out.
Yeah, that one's good.
Good episode. Anyways, before we move on though, I found some cool lore here that I want to share specifically with Will.
Mm-hmm.
Not me.
So first
okay.
of all, well, you'll know why in a second. So the first one is not for Will. Is that Tipley and Tiplar's kind of like clone force, their Commander Doom's design is based after Doctor Doom of Marvel Comics. He's actually going to be in the next episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so keep an eye out. This episode features an updated design for the B2RP battle droids, resembling the female Zentretti power armor in the animated series Robotech.
Ah. That is just for me, since
that's
DJ
very much
has not
just for
watched
you.
Robotech.
I never will as well.
I made it into the first season of that show. That's the furthest I've gotten so far.
You know what? Further than probably a lot of people who have even
Further
started
than
that
me.
show.
So
I just know so many Lucasfilm employees that worship that anime, and I'm just waiting for it to click. I just got to remember sometimes a lot of those employees are weebs, and I'm not.
Your god literally wears wolf t-shirts, so I don't know what to,
he doesn't take his
tell you.
cowboy hat off. What do
he
you
would
expect?
he would wear those Three Wolves Howling shirt from Walmart, not ironically.
Yeah.
Which respect. Like we're not judging. I love him. So
So moving on to the next episode, Conspiracy. It was released a week later, and this one's directed by Brian Kalen O'Connell, which is, to my memory, a recurring name in the Clone Wars directorial pool. So yeah, it picks up right where we left off. Rex and Fives bring Tup to Tapoca City, which, as everyone knows, is the only city on Camino as far as we know.
Yeah. There's got to be more than that, right?
I was thinking about that the other day when I was watching this, and I was like, Camino is just water. Like, it takes a lot for there to be a city on Camino, because you can't just put up a hut and be like, here's our city.
Right.
Because it would be underwater. Very strange.
my headcanon is that it's just a full planet of water, and then there's just two buildings.
You think there'd be more than one cluster of people?
No.
Here's a question too. I'm just thinking, evolutionary wise, you would think a native species to this planet would be water based.
Mhm.
So are the long neck thumbs, are they colonizers? I don't know, just a thought. Anyways,
The political morality of Clone Wars.
much to think about.
You don't think those guys could swim?
No, they
No?
can barely walk there without hitting the door.
Maybe that's why their body is the way it is for proficient swimming.
That's true.
I don't
Like
know.
they probably since they're like this,
Mhm.
when they swim, they probably just do this.
Yeah,
With
and
their
it's
neck.
like it's
Like
like when
a
you
worm.
it's like when you put a plank of wood in the water, because it's so flat and skinny, it
Mhm.
just kind of floats. You're like, it's
Yeah.
totally chill.
So
Do-
like
do
they could
you-
just float like this or just like
Yeah, and then they
Mhm.
just like flap their
Like
legs
a
a little bit,
tadpole.
and they start going. Yeah,
Yeah.
like a tadpole.
Yeah. Okay. Now maybe this is just me, because I live in an area with a lot of them. But has anyone ever heard about like how you fight a goose?
I assume you grab it by the neck and start like
You
swinging
grab
it
it by the neck
around.
and go like this. I want to see
Yeah.
someone do it with one of these
I'm
people.
gonna see someone fight a goose.
Have you like gone to like
No,
a
one of
goose fighting
these-
class? Like, where do you get trained to do
No,
this?
you know, tricks and tips get shared on the streets a lot.
Okay, okay.
I want to see someone do that with one of these, particularly a couple of these evil ones who were making me angry.
Leave a
Right.
comment on the YouTube video if you want to see Jackson fight a goose.
Yeah.
It would be a
If you
lot
have any
easier.
goose fighting tips, please DM Jackson because he could use
Yeah.
all he can get.
I have my headphones on now, but I tell you right now, if I don't, I would probably still hear them, even though the window's closed.
They're
Anyways.
challenging you.
Yeah, they want to fight.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Fight a goose, Jackson.
anyways, they get picked up. They're on Camino, and Tup gets put into some other room. And for whatever reason, they're like, Fives, we got to test you too, because maybe you've got whatever weird virus that he has. And Fives just like, okay, whatever. And then Rex just pieces out. He's got to go, because this is Fives' arc.
Which to me, I was just like, Rex was there too. He could be effective. What are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know. I have
We
some
all know how
takes.
quarantine restrictions go now everywhere, so we don't need to. This all makes sense, actually.
It's only for who it is valuable to quarantine.
Yeah.
So Fives is quarantined, but however, he's quarantined in the room right beside Tup with the windows like open so he could see everything going on. Which doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Like, why
and-
was Shakti does the thing where she hits the button to like make the glass like so it's not see through.
I think
Why,
they were
why wasn't
sending a
that set up
message.
before?
Don't you think they were kind of sending a message to him? They were just
Yeah, maybe it was like a Camoan thing.
like
where
this
they're
is
like,
going to
"Hey,"
happen to you if you don't keep your mouth
Maybe.
shut.
right?
Yeah,
And that's
I could
something they
see-
would totally like. Shakti wouldn't do that, but like the
Mhm.
Camoans would
Yeah.
for
I
sure.
could also see how they just like underestimate Fives as like someone who like has some of his own self-agency where like regular going to be like, ah, yes, my brother is undergoing the procedures that are necessary in order to save him. Whereas
Mhm.
Fives is like, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah. I think
Pretty
this episode arc 2 does
Yeah.
a good job of kind of villainizing the Kaminoans.
Kaminoans.
Yeah, Kaminoans. Because like for the most part, they're just kind of like the peaceful middleman that just like, here, we're making you an
Yeah.
army because
You're not
the
like
Jedi told us
100%
to.
sure that they're in on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
whereas
this all
really-
helps confirm that they've been in on it the whole time and are fully aware of everything.
Oh yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
Fives is
it's
like,
also
hey, what's up?
cool to think about it. Oh, sorry, my internet
Oh, I
cut
was
out for a
just
second.
gonna continue, so you should definitely stop me.
Oh my god, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, it makes sense for the Camoans because from their perspective, they have all their clones at base still, and when they're at base, like they aren't gaining the sentience. Like Fives even talks about it here, where he's like, "Oh, when I was in the war, like the Jedi taught me to be more expressive," kind of thing. And like from their perspective, clones are just the manufactured program clones. Like that's all they
Yeah.
know. So it does make sense that they wouldn't even think about Fives reacting, but obviously
Yeah.
we know Fives is gonna react to this.
Right.
So
Yeah, because in some ways, I would say that Fives is like more human than even Rex.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. And this is also when Fives meets the droid AZ3, he's a good droid.
He's a goober.
He is a goober. And Tup's results come back negative for no virus, nothing wrong. And this is when like Shakti and Nalase, who is the Kaminoan, kind of like get into it a little bit. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, who's in charge? Like, I don't really understand. And I feel like by the end of this, I still don't really understand who's in charge. Like, you would think Shakti is, but
Mhm.
it's strange.
she
They
seems more
want
like an advisor. you know?
yeah, they want to do brain scans on him, but like Nalase, who like knows like that like maybe he's had issues with his Order 66 chip is like, we should kill him and perform an autopsy.
Yes, we need to terminate him and take apart his brain.
Mhm. Yeah. And then we get some really good clone name discourse here between Fives and AZ3, where he keeps calling Top by his like clone designation, which I don't know off the top of my head. And Fives is like, that's not his name. He's not a number. And then AZ3 is like, but you're a number. And he's like, no, it's different. Just good comedy, but also like, it's literally what we've been doing since like the first episode we started talking about clones. Is giving them a name. So we were right about it being important.
Mm-hmm.
Good job. And then Nala Say just like straight up like meets Tyrannus, who is Dooku, as we all know, and name drops Protocol 66. So like mask off here, except for Tyrannus, who literally has a mask on. And yeah, then Fives and AZ3 decide to just do the brain scan on their own because they're their own people. And AZ3 discovers a tumor, which is his inhibitor chip. And then Nala Se shows up and is like ready to do some evil medical stuff. But the AZ3 is like, I'm a funny guy who does things. I don't know. Stuff happens.
I'm a funny guy.
I don't know, I feel like there's some humor here.
Yeah, he's good.
And then Chuck T shows up and Tup's like, whoa. And then him and Fives say some final words about the mission in their dreams, and that never ends. And then the nightmare is over and Tup dies.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
Which is a key line to remember, is him talking about the nightmares.
Mm-hmm.
And how it's over. And it's like, the dreams that we have
and then,
every night.
Like Fives like, yeah, no, I know 100% what you're talking about. He's not crazy. This is a real thing. And then Palpatine, but not evil Palpatine, Chancellor Palpatine, chats with Shakti, and they're like, what's going on here? Let's take him back to the Jedi Temple for analysis. Whereas the Chancellor, who is actually Emperor, or the future Emperor Palpatine, is like, oh no, we should take him to the Republic medical base where I can get a good look at him. Shakti is like, okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. The Emperor in these episodes is also voiced by Tim Curry.
Right, because Ian Abercrombie has already passed away at this point or something like that. I believe something like that.
Yeah, I noticed it. I was like, he sounds way different.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Tim Curry, who at this point, remember we were talking about like Tim Curry is like permanently like immobilized due to like multiple strokes. Good for him for still getting. I think it would have been at this point because I think it's been a while.
Yeah.
Good for him for still getting some work done in voice, where he shines, in my opinion.
I can never not hear Nigel Thornberry.
It's a pull. Okay, yeah, and then this is when things really start getting wild. This is I would refer to this perhaps as a film noir-esque, but Star Wars has never done that before. So
Star Wars is a noir show.
Exactly. Interesting.
It's also a Western. Did you know that?
That doesn't make sense.
I thought it was a samurai film. What's going on?
This episode, the next episode, Fugitive, is directed by Danny Keller. I don't know why for the arcs they don't just pick one person, but what do I know? But yeah, so Fives is essentially like kind of in trouble here. So they just want to like send him back and like do their tests on him, when it's revealed accidentally by as E3. Well, actually, before that, they're going to take the tumor back, and Shakti's like, nope, we're taking it to the Jedi Temple, and then you can have it. But a little evil droid is a little bit of a swap here, so they're just going like mask off like bad guys here. And then Fives is being escorted away, and Azzy3 is like, oh, are you going to get reprogrammed too? And Fives is like, don't want that to happen to me. And then he does a little like punch and a kick, and he starts to run away, and he begins this long scale chase. And he returns to the medical bay and finds the actual tumor. And then they do this really cool trick where they fly off in the escape pod. But then they jump out to return back to base because they know that they'd be tracked and there's still work to do.
Yeah. Five straight up thinks like, I'm gonna swim all the way back. I was like, bro,
And the
this
droid is like,
not
you
a good
can ride
idea.
on me.
Yeah, I was like, thank you, droid. But like, Fives, what are you doing? You can't.
Mhm.
You're not gonna swim that far.
Even like a normal like waves, but like the waves on Camino are not,
Not good.
hospitable.
No, it was giving me
Fives
Dark
is
Knight
willing
Rises
to do
vibes.
anything to find his friend, to help his friend.
Yeah,
It's true. Respect the commitment, but like,
yeah.
be smarter about it. You know.
Yeah, Fives has been making use of his creative thinking that the Jedi have encouraged him to make use of. And so when they get back, Fives steals clone trooper armor, poor guy, and then goes to the Kaminoan Genetic Records Hall to compare the tumor DNA to that of Jango Fett, who he's the blueprint as they call him. And it's revealed that there's nothing wrong here, and therefore whatever tumor was implanted into Tub. And Shakti realizes that he's there. Fives has a cool little escape up into this like secret tunnel, I don't know, ventilation system they have. And then Fives and AZ3 go in there, and he's like, I got to get this out of me. AZ3 is like, you might die. And he says, whatever it takes. Then he gets it out.
Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was exactly like Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
And then he has this big like thing on his head. It's very obvious. It looks like a pimple, but like
it's like a robot Band-Aid.
yeah, it's very. It's like a hey, we just dug a tumor out of your head, but you've still got to walk around now.
It's interesting that they call it a tumor though, when it's like very clearly a computer chip.
I think it's organic based from
it's like a chip ingrained into the tissue, but like when they're holding them up, like in their little slides, you're just like, that's just a chip. That's not a tumor. It's not a tumor.
Yeah, just like Arnold says.
Yeah.
Right, DJ?
Of course, from that one movie Arnold's in.
That's from Last Action Hero, I'm pretty sure, isn't it?
Is it? I would have guessed Terminator, but I don't know. So
that's a comedy. You might think that that's just how he says it, but it's a comedy line.
Okay,
I think
that
it's
makes
from
sense.
Kindergarten Cop, actually.
I think you're right too.
At least it isn't from one of his huge movies that I can feel bad about not knowing.
Kindergarten Cop was huge. That's That's one of his few legitimately great movies.
Okay,
it's actually really funny. Yeah,
I'll take your word for it, but
you should watch it. You'd really like it.
So
okay, here's the premise of Kindergarten Cop, DJ. Imagine Arnold Schwarzenegger is a like super cool, badass like police detective or FBI. I don't know. It doesn't matter. And then all of a sudden, it's revealed that he has to like go and like help out with with like this like kindergarten like issue or whatever, and like his like quiet female partner is the one who is like going to be the kindergarten teacher, but on the first day she's sick, so he becomes the kindergarten teacher and thus the kindergarten cop.
That's perfect.
Good idea.
That's a good idea for a comedy.
Yeah. And it's an action comedy, so it's really good.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's continue with the plot.
Give me 1 second. I got to go fix something.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay. Will, are you ready to keep going?
Yeah, sure. Or we can wait for him. Either way.
I'm gonna keep going. DJ doesn't need to know this. So Fives once again returns to the embryo chamber. As all good clones do, as they return to the embryo chamber.
Mm-hmm. Which everyone has. Like every government has an embryo chamber.
Yeah, of course.
Why
not? And then basically it's like, yo, they've been putting these chips in every clone baby. This is bad. And then Shakti is like, ooh, wow, that's crazy. And then Nala say the evil Kaminoan is like,
that's crazy.
And then she's like, oh, well, we have to do this because Jango Fett was crazy, but we used him anyways.
Super aggressive.
And therefore, we have to keep them from being a danger to themselves and others. And Fives is like, that's not right, but I don't know. And then essentially...
You think they throw that line in there about Jango Fett just to explain Boba? They're like, well, we made
why Boba's so pissed off
and aggressive all the time.
Yeah.
Like, outside of the fact that he watched his father die in front of him.
Yeah, not that would make you a little upset with the world, you know?
Yeah, it's I
Yeah,
don't
that
know.
makes sense.
But essentially they're like, okay,
It's a very
well,
quick and easy way to explain it away
yeah,
for them. They're just like, oh, he got
yeah,
aggressive, so he killed the Jedi. But it's like, oh, that's kind of a bridge pretty far, in my opinion.
yeah. It seemed like there was something else going on wrong with him. But I mean,
Yeah.
you believe what you want to believe. And they're like, okay, we'll go back to Coruscant and tell the Chancellor about this, and he'll make sure everything's okay because he's the Chancellor and he's a nice guy. The Chancellor turns out to be the Emperor, who's the bad guy the whole time. Um, yeah, so
Blowing my
that's that
mind
episode.
here.
And then, in my opinion, now we get to the really cool stuff on Coruscant. We get some good clone lore here, and I'm excited to talk about the clone bar. I don't want to reveal it too soon, but the clone
Yes,
bar,
the clone bar.
pretty
It's
cool.
fantastic.
Yeah, so this last episode is directed by Kyle Dunleavy. This episode is also like, it makes me like so nice. This is just like galaxy-wide gaslighting on fives. I feel so bad. Everyone's like, oh no, like there's something else going on. He knows. It's so sad. Anyways, they just go right to the Chancellor. And Five's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. There's this thing going on. He is getting like, I feel like there is some deterioration in Fives when the chip gets removed because he is kind of like getting really like paranoid and like it's a mixture of, yeah, he sees a conspiracy that like no one else admits to, like can see. But I don't know. I feel like there might be something more there. But it's like when he's talking to the Chancellor, he is kind of like being a little like really animated and is acting a little weird. I don't know if either of you noted this.
Yeah,
No,
he
that
does
makes sense.
get loopier.
Yeah, so I don't know if like, but like as we know, like clones have had their chips removed and been okay. So I don't know. Yeah, and then Palpatine's like, let me talk to him alone so that he doesn't feel like pressured, or I don't know. And then I guess we never really see what happens here, but Palpatine is like, oh, I'm being attacked. And then like something happens and then he runs away. I assume Fives didn't actually attack the Chancellor, but we never really see what happened in that room. But it's clear that like Palpatine's like, yes, we have done this. And then he hands over the chips to Nelson and it's like, take care of this. So does she know that he's evil? I don't think so, but he's certainly orchestrated things to work out in his favor. And then at the Jedi Temple, Shakti's like, yo, what's up? And Anakin's like, Fives and I'll take care of this. The 501st is back. And then Fives takes an air taxi to the clone bar. And it's just like a New York City taxi driver. It's super dumb, but it's very fun. And for whatever
he tells
reason,
him his whole story, and he's like, "Yeah, I hear that all the time. Obviously,
he's
Hey,
like, you ever heard
it's a clone.
it's like, yeah, you ever heard a story about a global conspiracy ready to take over and kill everyone? He's like, I hear that story every day. For whatever reason, this clone has a Wikipedia page. Would you like to hear a little bit more about this? Or not this clone, this cab driver.
Oh, yes.
His name is Jay Igno. And his kind of main quote, like they all have quotes at the top of their pages, is, I'm a cab driver, pal. I hear stories like that all the time.
Perfect.
He is he has purple eyes, and he appears in Disney Infinity.
Interesting.
Why?
That's a game I never played.
Why? I don't know.
I imagine he's like in the load screens when you're like fast traveling, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, you're taking the cab over," and he's got stuff to say. He's got like some tips.
I don't know
how to do stuff. It's what I'm gonna imagine.
His name is a reference to Reverend Jim Agnikowski, a character from the television sitcom Taxi. Star Wars is weird. Anyways. So yeah, he goes to the clone bar, which
I like it though.
Can we talk about the clone bar? This place is sick.
Yes, we can.
It's like a bar exclusively for clones.
Yeah, which maybe there's some negative implications there. But
does the bouncer just like look at everyone's face and be like, "You're in or you're out"? You know?
Do you think anyone gets carded at the clone bar?
It's a good question.
Yeah, because
do you think like Boba Fett's tried to sneak in? Actually,
I think it's very funny.
Yeah.
Does the bar have a name?
It's called 79s.
Is
I don't know
there
if
a
that's-
reason for that number, or
For how many?
I don't.
The 7 represents how many times everyone cried over 99 stuff.
right?
Yes.
Except for
and
DJ.
Right.
And I don't know if you remember this, but this bar has been featured in Rebels as a logo only, as well as in Resistance. So this bar has canonical appearances in all Star Wars media, which
I
is
can't wait till we watch Resistance.
very strange.
I can.
Yeah, and then while he's in there, he blends in I guess any way that you can. I guess, if you're in a room of clones, they'll be able to tell the difference between each other.
Yeah.
But still, and then he sees Jesse and Kix, 2 members of the 501st, who we're all familiar with.
And become
We
pretty.
have seen.
They become pretty big in the arc we're going to be covering next week too.
Right.
Yeah. And then Fives approaches Kix and is like, "Hey, can you get this message to Anakin and Rex?" Which he does. And then Five just kind of speeds away right before Wolf, who is the like Coruscant, or I think he's Palpatine's personal like clone group or whatever. I don't know. Fox. Sorry, his name is Fox. Whatever.
I was gonna say Wolf is the other.
Wolf is the
character.
guy from
Rebels.
Rebels that comes along.
Who I was reading about Wolf, and Wolf is like Plo Koon's general, so he's in like the 2nd episode of Clone Wars.
Right.
Which is interesting. I was reading a lot of Clone lore last night, and I'll mention a little bit of it later on because it is wild. Yeah, and then Skywalker and Rex arrive, but also there's like a little probe droid that's been following them, so Fox kind of knows his. And this is when Five just goes full on like conspiracy nut, which is not
was full Alex Jones.
Yeah, it really does remind me though of
Yeah.
kind of like the end of a sort of like noir film where the main character is like he's got like the tea, but like no one believes him, and he like lures his friends into like this one place where he can try to talk to them, but he's just like you just can't believe it, like it just doesn't. And even like
he's not coherent at all.
He's not coherent, but also like he just doesn't have enough to like pin it on someone. And he starts going off like, oh yeah, the Chancellor's in on it. He knows the plot. And Anakin, who is like #1 Palpatine simp, is like,
that's
the
when he like
Chancellor
freaks
is
out.
incapable of that. You blah 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 blah. I love him. He's like my dad.
I'm gonna kiss him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Fives also like kind of puts down like this like ray shield, so like Rex and Anakin have to listen to him. And then Fox shows up and with his like red clones, and Fives, he goes for the gun.
Mistake.
Why? I don't know. And then pop, one right in the chest. And that's the end of Fives. And then Rex.
Police at it again.
And then Rex kind of holds him and dies in his arms. And Five says, hey, this is bigger than any of us. And he only wanted to do his duty, but the mission and the nightmares are over.
Mm-hmm. Just like Tug said, the nightmares are over.
And then Fives dies. And then my least favorite scene in this arc is everyone sitting in the Chancellor's office and be like, well, I guess we figured that out.
Well, yeah, the Chancellor's just like, clearly he was sick from the planet they were on, and we're not there now, so we're all fine.
He goes, yeah, we developed inoculation for every single clone, so it's okay.
Okay, yeah, mass produce that for all whatever million clones
it's
you have.
It's just a firmware patch. They just got to plug in and install it. Yeah,
it just updates via Wi-Fi. Actually, it's totally chill.
It's just so funny that all the Jedi like get to sit around and be like, oh yes, we've successful unearthed.
They have such a habit of doing that with stuff.
Yeah, and then we're like, there's like 2 dead clones, and like the questions have not been answered, and like everyone's kind of like betraying each other in this room. They're like, oh yes, we have finally like figured it all out. Time to go back to fighting this proxy war that no one profits from.
Yeah, and Shakti's the worst one for that throughout this entire thing, where every corner she's like kind of aware, but also just like, it should be okay. I guess I'll let this happen. And it's like, no, stop it.
Well, her only job is to monitor that clone facility, so she needs this war.
she monitors it, I guess, sort of. She's aware of what's going on.
That's the Jedi way, is to like half fix problems. Like
Yeah,
when in High Republic, when the city was burning to pieces, and they're like,
Yeah,
"We've saved it.
we've saved it, sort of.
Yeah. And then if this episode came out like today, this would have been the post-credit sequence of it, where like Dooku's back in his like little base, and Sidious, who is Emperor Palpatine, is like, we've destroyed the evidence and no one knows about Order 66. Nice.
Yeah,
And
we
then
can
that's
do
that.
it."
And then that's that.
It's like, it's just funny though, because like Dooku has no idea he's gonna be killed very soon.
Yeah.
It's something all about this feels very like close to the end of the war.
Yeah. They do a good job with that stuff throughout this
Mhm.
whole season, really.
I think this is a really good,
Yeah,
really
one of the
good
better
set of
ones.
episodes. Yeah.
Yep.
I kind of feel bad that it's like stuck. It like follows the like what was at that point the end of Darth Maul and then the end of Ahsoka's arcs. So it kind of gets like I think it's like not a bad rap, but it gets underappreciated.
Is the episode after this arc when Mace Windu and Jar Jar go to that Gungan planet?
No, the episode after this arc is where Anakin chokes out Padme's ex.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good one too.
Yep, great.
Yeah.
Because it's weird because like season 6 has this arc, and then like
The Yoda
some
arc.
kind of low tier filler episodes, and then the Yoda arc, which I really like.
Yeah.
Which is in like thematically integral to the series. I don't know if it's like plot wise important at all.
Yeah. That
That's
one
when
has
it
really good
gets into
moments.
that's when it really gets into the spirituality of the Force and and Qui-Gon
Darth
and
Bane
all
is
that.
there.
And,
I'm curious to revisit that one day.
Yeah.
Because I remember loving the first episode, then like thinking the rest of it was mostly like monotonous, aside from like when Qui-Gon sort of shows up. But like I'm very curious now, like knowing everything we know about all the other stuff that's happened, like in Rebels and everything, like how how they engage with the Force will be interesting for sure.
I think one of the major issues too with this episode is I'm looking at it and it's production number 515. So like this series is like created in such a weird way where like this episode potentially like falls before Ahsoka leaves the Jedi Order. Just based on production number, or it was made beforehand. So like it doesn't carry that weight either. Like Anakin is like the Jedi in this episode, even though he's not in it very much. And like especially like watching this season, like right after Ahsoka leaves, be like, we're gonna talk about this. And the answer for season 6 is no.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
I don't think they talk about it in the Clovis arc, but I think there's the underlying thing in that arc at least where like Anakin is like clearly getting more messed up. And even in this one at the end where he's like, no, the Chancellor is great. Just like, okay, he's starting to go down the path at this point. But it is weird that they never even mention it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's strange. Season 6 is weird, and I'm glad that we got a season 7 that kind of wraps all that up.
Put a bow on everything.
Yeah. And I think honestly one of my things about season 7 was like, oh, I feel like could have done with a little more like clone stuff in the end there, because I feel like the Bad Batch is just kind of like, ooh, this is fun clone stuff. And that's what the Bad Batch, the series is. So things work out there. But yeah, that's kind of it for this. No other tidbits of actually. Will, do you want to hear some crazy lore?
Yes.
I don't know if you scrolled up in our chat. I don't blame you if you didn't. But I was reading Kix, his Wikipedia page. Did you know that Kix is alive during the events of The Force Awakens?
What? No, I did not know that.
So there's a collection of short stories that came out around or just before episode 7 came out about 6 different like creatures that was in that movie. And I believe the short story I'm referencing is the one. Do you know those 2 bounty hunter or those 2 like smugglers that like Finn tries to leave with in the movie? I believe one of them has like a big red hat. I can't remember.
Yeah.
So it's about that one and his people. And apparently, after the events of this episode, Kix becomes questioning of the clone program to the point where he is put in cryostasis by Count Dooku. and is awakened by this group of raiders shortly before the events of The Force Awakens. And he just kind of hangs out with them for a little bit. I didn't read the whole thing because I was like, this is wild. But yeah, and then he has another sighting in a comic book where he isn't directly referenced as it being him, but in concept art it's confirmed to be him. That takes place like right around The Force Awakens. So
Interesting.
so technically, there is a clone in the sequel era of Star Wars.
He could exist in The Mandalorian.
He could.
Yeah, it's very strange.
It's very strange.
What if instead of bringing Rex back for The Mandalorian, they bring him back?
What if in Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron movie that takes place after Episode 9, he is a part of the squadron as a fighter pilot?
Ooh,
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
That would be absurd, but
the name of the book here, just because I want Will to know. The book is called.
it's got to be something we've heard of.
It's called Tales from a Galaxy Far, Far Away, Aliens Volume 1. And
that's like a children's book. Yeah.
The short story is
Okay.
called The Crimson Corsair and the Lost Treasure of Count Dooku.
Mm.
Do you think they put those kind of weird tidbits in children's books just to mess with people? Where they're just like, no one is going to care, but one day on someone's going to put this on Wikipedia, and one day on a podcast, someone's going to notice this and freak out and have weird, dumb conspiracy theories
And then
about
I'm going to
this
go
thing.
buy this book.
Yeah, then you're going to go buy the book and read it and be like, that was pretty anticlimactic. And then you're going to obsess over this idea that should come into canon in a new movie that never will. No one actually cares.
So I looked up the Jar Jar episodes from season 6, and those are both written by J.W. Rensler, who's the guy that wrote the making of the original trilogy and Revenge of the Sith books.
Huh.
Interesting.
We should do another watch through where we just do the Jar Jar episodes all the way through.
That's actually
The,
really
the
good.
Gungan arcs.
Yeah,
That's a
that
good
would be
idea.
very fun.
Doesn't Jar Jar kiss in that episode?
I think he does.
Yeah, I think he does. Yeah.
he has some
I can't.
smooches.
I can't deal with that.
Ahmed's back in that episode.
Oh, that's cool.
Right. So
It's like
yeah.
some episodes are Ahmed and some episodes are Phil Lamar, and you can tell when it's Phil though.
Yeah.
Something about Ahmed. He carries.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
But
yeah. Okay. One last note on this short story. The prologue, which is where Kix gets iced, is in 19 BBY, which is the same year that these episodes that we just talked about takes place. And the main story takes place in 31 ABY. And it's a lot of Star Wars knowledge for me to have in my brain.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
Good episodes.
Yeah. So yeah, great episodes. I'm very much looking forward to what we've decided the next week's episodes are going to be, because those
Yeah.
episodes are awesome. Also,
we'll
when
have-
Five
We
died,
did the
DJ,
Bad
did
Batch
you cry?
first.
We'll have Bad Batch first, and then
Oh, yeah,
we'll
that's right.
have the finale. I guess
The,
we'll
titular,
do.
the titular Bad Batch.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
guess we'll do the full finale. I don't.
Might as well. I just
we might
want
as
to watch
well
all
at
of
that
those
point.
episodes.
It'll
They're
be
just good
somewhat
episodes I wanna
connected,
watch.
so,
And they're so
yeah.
good.
Yeah,
I haven't watched it since it first came out.
Oh
Really?
wow.
I rewatched it all before. What did I do it before? I don't know. I rewatched it for some reason.
Before Mando,
Did you
maybe?
cry when Five died?
I did not cry.
Of
when
course
I
you
have not.
didn't.
I don't think I've cried at Star Wars media before.
We'll figure it out. We'll get you
You
there.
probably rewatched it before the Ahsoka episode of Mandalorian.
That's right. That's definitely what it was. Oh, did I cry during Mando season 2? I don't know. I don't know when I cried. I don't think I cried.
We'll get you. We'll get you eventually. You're gonna join. You're gonna join
Yeah.
the club. Yep.
One day you will feel.
One day you will
I'll
have
do
feeling.
my best. It's like I'm not actively trying not to feel. It just
Yes,
is
you
how
are.
it
You're a
is.
robot.
I forgot to give my hot take.
Mm.
Okay, Jackson.
My hot take
Hit me.
is that I think Fives, specifically in Clone Wars, presents a more interesting and like well-rounded view of clones than Rex does. I think
Yeah.
Rex follows orders a little too long all the way through until the very end, where he's like, "Oh, maybe this is bad."
Yeah, because
Like,
yeah,
He even has the Umbara arc where he's like, "Ooh, something's wrong here," and then in this, he's just like, "Okay, I guess I'll just go do the thing."
Rex is like like narratively at least, like he's like baby walking us all to the eventual conclusion. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like the other clones are allowed to be like more out there and be like, I'm gonna go for this. Like I'm totally in to
Mhm.
stop this stuff. But Rex has to kind of toe the line and toe the
Rex
I
very
doesn't. Yeah, he really doesn't become his own person until Order 66.
Right.
And when he gets the chip out of him, and then he's like, oh, oops.
yeah.
Mhm.
And part of that is like them doing that for like narrative purposes, just to explain
Yeah.
it properly. And part of
Yeah.
it is also like from like a in canon perspective is like has that actual sense of duty to like his unit. Or
Mhm.
Fives is just like,
He's
well,
also a bit of
I'm
an
just gonna
Anakin
go
simp.
for it. Yeah, he also like,
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, they're best friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which who wouldn't be? Anakin's
So,
great.
yeah. And I think Fives, like when we talked about it, he's been since season 1, since Rookies, he's been like floating around. So he kind of gets the same length of like narrative potential,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
he really like becomes his own in this.
It's so weird though, because when you watch all of the episodes and there's like 10 episodes in between all the arcs that we do,
Yeah.
it's hard to even like catch the through lines. But then you watch them all together like this, and like, oh, there's actually like very complete through lines happening with all this stuff. So it's really well done.
Mm-hmm. I'm really curious because at this point, Fives was the last of kind of like that Domino Squad, and now that Echo's back, I don't think we got a ton of that in that Bad Batch episode that I guess we'll watch next week. But I'm excited for in the series to maybe see him reflect on his fallen brothers a little bit more,
Mhm.
because he's different. He's built different.
He's not like the other clones.
And Echo probably doesn't even know what happened to like Rex, right? You wouldn't
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, probably
No.
not.
Like he's
I'm,
off on
I'm
his own at
hoping
that
Rex
point.
shows up in Bad.
I think he's confirmed, isn't he? Wasn't he in the first trailer?
Oh, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll get addressed for sure. But at this point, Echo doesn't really know, I guess.
And we'll find out who that little blonde girl is.
Yeah, she's Captain
Phasma.
Phasma, obviously.
Mhm. Anyway, any closing statements on these episodes?
No
we're
more
good.
hot
Jackson or
takes.
DJ? No? Okay. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Cantina Conversations. What did you think of these episodes? Let us know on Twitter at Cantina Convo. Give us also some feedback on how you've been liking our Clone Wars Cantina so far. I've been enjoying revisiting all of these arcs.
Yeah, it's
Hopefully
fun.
you are as well. As we lead into the Bad Batch, which is only, I think, 2 weeks out from the time this episode will go live. So we are almost there. Maybe 3 weeks, actually.
Aren't they doing a weird thing again where they're doing like a Wednesday?
They're doing like
release, then a
one
Friday.
They're doing the one on May the 4th and then another episode that following Friday. So
Right.
you're going to be
We'll have
getting the
2
70-minute
episodes.
premiere and then the episode 2 on Friday in a week.
Man, we're gonna have to. I guess we're gonna have to abandon Thursday recording for a bit, aren't we?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
We're gonna be getting. Hold on, I'm trying to do math. We're gonna be getting 100 minutes of Bad Batch content the first week.
Right. It's gonna be good.
That's a lot
Can't
of
wait to
content.
can't wait to review it on Letterbox.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna see if I
Um,
can upload it. I'm gonna go into the thing and figure it all out.
Yeah.
Why not?
Okay. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. You can find my personal page on Twitter at WO Beeman. Jackson, where can the good people find you at?
Catch me at Jackson W. Wells. Twitter was down, so I was holding a lot of good tweets yesterday, so get ready.
Yeah, they're all
Twitter
gonna
was
hit
down.
soon.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Twitter was been in and out for like 2 days now. I don't know what's going on.
must be a Canada
Very
thing.
weird.
Mine's been working all right.
Nope.
But
I don't know.
DJ, where can they find you at?
DJ_Gillard.
All right. So until next time, may the force be with you.